Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another session of GOD. It's a wonderful opportunity again to come together as church, as parish, and as families. And that's what we're really excited about this year, is we're trying to interweave the things that are done individually, but most importantly to keep you together as families so you can talk about what your faith and the direction and how we can do some outreach as a family. So again, this is about Catholic social teaching. And tonight specifically is the first one we speak on is life and dignity of the human person. So each one of you have a dignity because you were born into this world in the grace of God and through your baptism through the church. So I want to again welcome all of you, and I want to welcome our staff who are here with us this evening just to kind of give you a visual of who's who among us. Wayne, if you'd like to stand up. Wayne is our liturgist, worship guy, and also you happen to be related to the lady next to you there. I'm going down the list. This is Carolyn. Carolyn, and you two are related as in married. Good. And Carolyn is the chief person who draws us all together here for GOD. And Tony just walked away. Rosemary, say hello. Rosemary is the chief gopher, coordinator. Wherever we need Rosemary, she's there. Thank you. Susan, are you here? Susan, oh, there you are, Susan. Thank you, Susan. Susan helps out in our pastoral area and does RCIA as well, so some of you know her through that as you a little older, but getting your sacraments. Sarah? Sarah's not here yet, all right, she'll be showing up. And Sharon? There's Sharon. Sharon, you're doing what tonight? Service project, okay. You usually are singing, doing music, so you're amazing. You're amazing. And finally, Mary. And there's Mary. Mary is coordinator for confirmation. All you confirmation people know Mary well. And you also head up our middle school, high school program. Great. I think it's all you.
I just want to take this opportunity to introduce to you the facilitators of the middle school and confirmation program. I am just so happy, and we're all blessed that they are going to be part of these programs. So for the middle school, I have Paige and Andy Bandstrom. Okay. Oh, back there. Okay. They're going to be middle school 6th through 9th. So when we ask middle school to come forward to go with them, that's who you're going to be going with, okay? And then confirmation, we have Matt Klicka over here. All these people who are so happy to stand up. And Terry Buboltz. I don't know where he went. Terry's back there. And Katie is back there, Katie McAllister, and myself. So we'll be doing the confirmation program. So we're excited to have all of you with us and to be able to grow in faith on this journey through this year. So I think we're looking for Mother Teresa. Oh, here she is.
It's good to see all of you here tonight. Thank you for coming again. And she already told you who I am, Mother Teresa. But I am also an Albanian. I was born in Albania, and my parents were Albanian. I am a citizen of India. I am an Indian. By faith, I am a Catholic nun. As to my calling, I belong to the world. As to my heart, it belongs entirely to the heart of Jesus. Tonight, you have come together to study and learn how to live a truth that is very dear to my heart. And the truth is this, that every person has been created with dignity and worth, and that we are to treat every single person with dignity and respect. I would like to share with you some words that I wrote as we begin our session this evening. At the end of life, we will not be judged by how many diplomas we have received, how much money we have made, how many great things we have done. We will be judged by, I was hungry and you gave me food to eat. I was naked and you clothed me. I was homeless and you took me in. Hungry not only for bread, but for love. Naked not only for clothing, but naked of human dignity and respect. Homeless not only for want of a room of bricks, but homeless because of rejection. This is Christ in distressing disguise.
Thank you, Mother Teresa. It was so good to see you again. We just saw you a couple weeks ago. I feel like I'm getting to know you like a best friend. So there you go. As Mother Teresa said, and Father Tom reminded us, tonight we really focus on the human dignity of each person. Dignity of every person, no matter if you are young or old, if you like carrots or don't like carrots, if you have a home or you don't have a home, you have dignity and you have worth. The people that are in your school who don't have a home, and there are, in any given year, over 1,300 children and youth in Brown County that don't have a place to call their own, they have dignity and worth. The people who, starting on November 1st, will sleep on a mat down at St. John the Evangelist homeless shelter, they have dignity and worth. The people who go through the food line and just did over at New Community Shelter this evening, they have dignity and worth. So every person has dignity and worth because they're created in the image and likeness of God. There's a really beautiful video that was put together a few years ago, made by Catholic Relief Services. And in just in a few minutes, it gives you a sense of what this principle of Catholic social teaching is all about. It gives you an image and gives you words to kind of put with this principle. And so I asked Katie to play this from Catholic Relief Services to show us what we're talking about.
Children bear the image of their parents both physically and psychologically and spiritually. So in all those ways, they are representative, if you want, of their parents. So in a similar way, all of us, children of God, represent God. We bear the likeness of God. So every human being, all have a purpose, a mission. They're part of God's plan.
At the root of our dignity is this right to life. And the right to life extends from conception to natural death. It applies to us across the whole of our existence. And so to have an ethic of life means at all times the church is concerned for how people are doing at any given moment.
When we see people trying to justify treating other people in a certain way because they're so small, they're not born yet, they're not self-aware yet, their skin is another color, they're so disabled. Whenever we see people being spoken of more like objects, then we know that the principle of the radical equality of every human person is being violated.
The human race is a family. We're all children of God. And so we should learn that lesson from individual families, that there's no one who's expendable. Everyone is worthy of reverence and protection, but especially the weakest among us.
Our dignity also cries out for the freedom and the opportunity to become everything God intended us to be. So part of life, part of fulfilling life, part of serving life, is actually creating the opportunities for everyone to have the fullness of life.
And I think Catholic social teaching urges us to operate at both the kind of individual and the global levels. Both the individual who's in immediate need, so think of the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. At the same time, we have to be attentive to the more global, the more societal violations of justice. There is systemic violence, there is systemic injustice. That has to be addressed too.
So it's not just the lawmakers, but national institutions, corporations, have this obligation to affirm the principle of the right to life and dignity, and then to decide how their institution can go about realizing it. On a personal level, it requires figuring out how you, and often this is the most effective level, at the one-on-one level, at the small group level, can make a difference, and in realizing those parts of human dignity that are in short supply, and that you have the wherewithal to do something about.
All of the church's social teaching, its understanding of family, of community life, of justice, of good governance, all of this comes back to the question, what will fulfill life for every human being as God has intended it?
Just a beautiful image and words by the bishop out in Los Angeles, as well as some of the leaders in our church to help us think about this. Tonight we have a speaker who is going to appear live. Well, not live. She'll be live, but she's not going to be here. She's going to be up on the big screen. She's coming from, I think tonight she'll be in Sturgeon Bay. Stephanie Birmingham, I met, probably 15 years ago or so. She was at St. Norbert College as an undergraduate student, a college student. And when I met Stephanie, I already knew her mom. Her mom was a faith formation coordinator, just kind of like Carolyn and Mary, at a parish up in Sturgeon Bay. And then I met her, Kathy Birmingham's daughter, Stephanie. And Stephanie was born with many physical challenges, which I think you're going to see tonight. But when she went through St. Norbert College, she overcame all of those challenges. She came through St. Norbert with flying colors. And it didn't matter whether she had these physical challenges or not. She's got an incredible brain. She's got incredible intelligence. She's got incredible personality. And now she is making a difference in our community. So Stephanie went on to receive a counseling degree. And so she runs an organization called Birmingham Counseling. And she's also an advocate at Options for Independent Living, and so helping other people who have been born with physical challenges or who have developed physical challenges through life to kind of work through those challenges. She has helped so many people in our community in terms of being an advocate for homelessness. So she's worked extensively down at St. John the Evangelist Homeless Shelter. She's been a real active member of the Brown County Homeless and Housing Coalition to speak for and to work with people who are really suffering from being marginalized and being homeless. And so I think we're going to have Stephanie come to you live via Zoom. There she is. There's Stephanie Birmingham. Let's give her a hand. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Hello. So, as Tony said, my name is Stephanie, and I'm very excited and happy to have the opportunity to be here with you all this evening, even if it's virtual and remotely. So, thank you. So, I have a question for all of you, and so the way the camera is positioned, I actually can see behind all of you. So even if you raise your hand, I'll still see. But I have a couple questions. So how many of you know someone who speaks differently than you? Raise your hand. Maybe they sound a little bit different than you do, okay? How many of you know someone who looks different than you? Maybe their skin color is different, their hairstyle is different, okay? How many of you know someone who perhaps likes different food than you or has a different favorite snack? Okay. How many of you know someone who maybe uses a walker or crutches or a wheelchair? Okay, great. So a lot of you know someone who is a little bit different than you. So all of us are different from one another in all different ways. And as Tony had hinted and mentioned, I have what's called a disability. So that's something that makes me different than some people, but similar to other people. So something that you can't see on the screen, because I'm not in it right now, but if I was there with you in person right now, you would be seeing me sitting in my wheelchair. I use a power wheelchair because I am unable to walk. And I'm also, if I had the camera really far back, you would also notice that I am very short. So I'm very short stature. So even though I'm an adult, my body is not the size of what we usually think of an adult being. So my body is more the size of a kid, of a young kid, even though my brain is much like an adult's. So I have a bone condition. My disability affects my bones. It affects how strong they are, and it affects my body's ability to walk. And it has a really, really fancy kind of long title, but my bone condition, the name of my disability, is called osteogenesis imperfecta. And we would say that my disability is a physical disability. Can anyone think of another type of disability that they know that maybe is a physical disability? Has anyone heard of cerebral palsy or CP? I think I saw a hand go up. In fact, I think today is actually National CP Awareness Day. So cerebral palsy is also a disability, and that can affect all different things about a person's body. It oftentimes affects how a person moves their body, but it also can affect how a person talks. It can affect a person's ability to see, and sometimes it can affect a person's ability to think and communicate. There are other types of disabilities that aren't necessarily physical, or they're not always disabilities that we can see, and those are disabilities that are intellectual disabilities. And those can affect the way a person's brain works and affects their ability to maybe do homework or schoolwork, or affects their ability to make decisions. Other people have disabilities that affect their emotions and their feelings, so emotional disabilities. Other people have disabilities that affect their eyesight. So they might be blind, or maybe they have some eyesight, but they can't see completely. And other people have disabilities that affect their hearing. So they're maybe deaf, or they have hearing loss. Has anyone heard of American Sign Language? Oh, lots of people, okay. And I know that Miss Susan, who I think is sitting in the back of the church, she knows a lot of American Sign Language. So that is a language that individuals who are deaf, so people who can't hear at all, or some people who can hear maybe a little bit, but not very well, they use that language to communicate. Because if you can't hear, and sometimes they can't speak, they're not going to be able to communicate in English, spoken English, so they have a different language to use. And then there's people who have other disabilities that maybe don't really have a name or a category, but they're invisible or hidden, where we wouldn't necessarily know they have a disability unless they told us. And those are, again, those are hidden disabilities. So there's all different kinds of disabilities. And that's okay. All of the people who have a disability are just as important and are just as wonderfully made as anybody else who doesn't have a disability. Because as Mother Teresa and as Father was saying earlier, everybody, no matter what, is made in the image and likeness of God, no matter what. So even though I can't walk, and even though I use a wheelchair to get around, God loves me just as much and just the same as God loves anybody else. So I have a younger sister. She's 29, and she doesn't have a disability. And God loves her just as much and just the same as God loves me, even if I have a disability. So that's what's so wonderful and beautiful about God's love for all of us, and the fact that we all have dignity. We're all, no matter what, no matter who we are and how we're created, and no matter what we look like, no matter how we communicate, whether we talk or we don't talk, no matter how our emotions feel inside, no matter what, God loves us, and we have dignity. So using a wheelchair, I get asked lots of questions, and I really like being able to answer those questions, because sometimes when we don't know answers, it's really natural to just sort of kind of create our own answer in our head. And sometimes those answers are very correct and accurate, and sometimes, well, they're not always accurate. And one of the things that people often sort of wonder about is, can people with disabilities go to school? Can people with disabilities work and get a job? Can people with disabilities live in their community or in a house or an apartment? There's lots of questions that people have. And in general, most people with disabilities definitely go to school. So for those of you who are younger, how many of you can think of someone that you know at school that has a disability? How many of you know someone who maybe has autism? No? Okay. Oh, a couple. Okay, I see a couple of hands. Okay. Yeah. So young kids, young people with disabilities, yeah, they go to school just like anybody else. Sometimes they have different classes that they go to, but that doesn't matter, because they deserve an education just like any other student who doesn't have a disability. Now, I bet if you ask your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa, they might tell you a little bit different experience and story, because many years ago, that was a different understanding where not everybody agreed that people with disabilities should be with people who didn't have disabilities. But as more and more people have become more understanding, and they realize like everybody should, do their best at being together, no matter what, whether they have a disability or not. So I've been able to go to school. I've gone to elementary school, middle school, and high school. Like Tony said, I've gone to college, and I've even gone to what we call graduate school. So I have a master's degree in pastoral counseling. So something else that people wonder is, well, if you have a disability, can you live on your own? Can you live in a community? And that also sort of depends. So I live, right now, I live in a house, but before I lived in an apartment. And there are some things that I do need help with. So I have what's called a caregiver that comes in. And she comes in the morning and she helps me with things like washing my hair, helps me, in the bathroom with taking a shower. She helps me cook some food, helps me make sure that my house is clean, things that my body doesn't allow me to be able to do very well. Now, other people, some people with disabilities, they don't need any help like that. Other people with different types of disabilities, they sometimes need a little bit more help. Sometimes they need help with their money. They need help making decisions at the doctor's office. Sometimes they need help even getting in and out of bed. It really depends on how their disability impacts them. And another question is, well, can people with disabilities work? Absolutely. So just like I'm going to guess that all of you, especially those of you who are still in school, I bet you have an idea of what you'd like to be when you get older. So how many of you can think of what you want to be when you grow up? Raise your hand if you know what you want to be when you grow up. Okay. So people with disabilities, so kids your age that have a disability, they also have ideas about what they want to be when they grow up. Yeah, so it's exactly the same thing. So when I was younger, I wanted to be either a ballerina, so it didn't matter to me that I used a wheelchair. I still wanted to be a ballerina. And then I changed my mind. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And then through college, I thought, maybe I'll be a lawyer. And the reason I changed my mind is I realized I'm not very good at math and I did not like chemistry. So I changed my mind. And that happens. People do that. So like I said, I went to school and I got a job after college. And I did that for a while. And then I realized, I think I want a different job. So I ended up going back to school, and now I have a job as a counselor. And I also have a job, as Tony had talked about, where I get to help other people with disabilities be able to figure out what they want to do with their life and be able to figure out how can they live in their community and reach their goals and their dreams. Because, like I said, whether you have a disability or not, everybody has goals and dreams. And when we honor and recognize the dignity in everyone, then we can work together to make sure that everybody has an equitable chance to reach and try to fulfill their own dreams and desires within their communities. So the thing about disability is that, I'm pretty much just like anybody else. I just look a little bit different and I do things a little bit differently. And sometimes I need help in different ways than maybe my sister needs help. However, I think everybody needs help. Even my sister, who doesn't have a disability, she's 29, but she even needs help because she's a mom and sometimes she needs help taking care of her daughter. So sometimes she needs help. Sometimes, other people need help. Just maybe they need help raking their leaves, taking care of their yard. Nobody can ever go through their entire life without ever needing help from somebody else. It's just everybody has different ways that they need it. One of the things that is also really, really important when we think about disability and how we can really respect and honor the dignity of someone with a disability is what are the words that we're using when we're talking about someone with a disability? So one of the things that I always try to remind people, especially when talking about disability, is sometimes we might hear other people say things that are mean or rude, or maybe we see somebody picking on someone with a disability. It's okay to step in and say, hey, like, that's not cool. You should stop that. That's actually a way for you to uphold and honor that person's dignity. Because that shows that you respect them and you recognize that they have worth, and because they're made in the image of God, God wouldn't want us to be having someone speak poorly or mean or rude about someone. So, I mean, that's something we can do for everybody. But sometimes, you know, people don't understand and pick on people with disabilities in a way that can happen a little bit more than other people. So if you ever see that happening, know that you have the power within you to speak up and use your voice. So I see Mr. Tony walking towards the stairs there, so I don't want to speak too long. So I think, is that my cue, Tony?
Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing your life, your what you have experienced in terms of a person with disabilities. And I love the fact that you brought out that every person, no matter who they are, needs help sometimes. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight, is helping people. So thank you for spending some time with us this evening, and blessings on all you do in Sturgeon Bay, but also with the people here in Green Bay and at Options for Independent Living and in your counseling service. So thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you, everyone.
Stephanie brought up a lot of situations, and just we want to spend just like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes at the most, just talking about in our own lives, do we know somebody who has special needs of any kind, which we kind of raised our hands, but more importantly, how have we treated them? And how can we make them feel whole? So how have we treated people with disabilities or with special needs, and how can we make them feel whole? So if you just turn to a neighbor or in your families, just talk for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then we'll pull you back in a minute here, okay? About these 3 questions that are up on the screen. All right, I know that wasn't a lot of time, but maybe it'll just wet your whistle a little bit for conversations in the car on the way home or when you get back home at the dinner table tomorrow night. We're going to welcome back Mother Teresa for just one short amount of time here to give us a little story.
You know, if you judge people by how they look or how they act or how they talk or what they do or what they don't do, you have no time to love them. And that's what this is all about, isn't it? It's about love. And love has to be put into service. That's how we show love, by doing. So you all know I'm not really Mother Teresa. You know that I'm one of the parishioners here, Sheila DeLuca. But many years ago, I told this story to some of you, I had the opportunity to go to a conference. And at the conference, Mother Teresa was still living at that time, and she was going to be one of the main speakers. We were all very excited that she was going to be coming. She's a little lady. She didn't look like she had any energy, but she was dynamo. So the whole conference hall was filled with people waiting for Mother Teresa to come. Somebody was saving me a seat in the conference hall. I'm coming to go into the conference hall just as Mother Teresa is being walked into the hall. So there's people all over the floor, and I'm right next to her. And I looked and said, Mother Teresa, thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do for so many. And she looked at me and said, thank you. Now you do something. I don't know if I lived those words out very well in my life, but there's always today to start. Tomorrow's gone. Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow isn't here yet. Today is the day for you, for me, to do something.
Can you hear me? Okay. So with that in mind, our teaching today talks about the life and dignity of everyone, from, I want to say, womb to the tomb, from birth to death, right? So today we have the opportunity to do something, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to make tie quilts or tie blankets for 60 children at the Children's Hospital in Green Bay, at St. Vincent Hospital. So that's one end of the spectrum. And we're going to make 60 blankets for our seniors from our parish who live either in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, or are homebound.
Special thank you for all your hard work in putting those blankets together. My husband had cancer, and someone made one for him, and it's something that he still cherishes. So thank you very much for your time and efforts. It's my opportunity to introduce to you a friend of mine. I met him about 20 years ago. I was about 4 at the time. And he had a disability, but he also had a tremendous ability. And Tony Melendez is his name. He was born in Nicaragua with a clubfoot and no arms. And so he had to learn to do a lot of things on his own. And his dad really pushed him, and he learned how to play the guitar and developed a great voice for singing. And he's sung all over the world and in all 50 states. And I called him and asked him, I said, hey, Tony, I got this group that would love to hear you. And he said, I'd love to come. So he and his brother, he always comes with Jose, will be here on the 30th. And their concert is from 6:30 to 8. And he'll also play a little bit for Mass at the 4 o'clock Mass on the 30th. So I want to give you a little hint of what he's like as far as his singing and what his life story is about. We have the tickets here, and they're free, but we can only let 400 people in for safety's sake. So if you'd like tickets, we'd like to give them to you guys first, and then we'll give them to the greater community. So we wanted to make sure we'll have them as we're going out, Carol, as we're walking out. And then if you'd like some, we can, let us know what you need, and we'd be happy to give them to you.
I met Tony Melendez myself, and he's also played for the Pope. I mean, he's a pretty incredible guy. So when you should have received, or I think you've received a newsletter. Each family should have received a newsletter, or each household. And it's chock full of activities and things that are going on. But on the second to last page, I think it is, there are all kinds of service opportunities coming up over these next few weeks that we want to make you aware of. And the first is on October 23rd, it's National Make a Difference Day. And so we're going to try to make a difference right here in Resurrection Parish we're asking seniors in the parish, do they need help with lawn care, fall cleanup, raking, that kind of stuff? And then we want households, families, individuals who can help them to do that kind of stuff to go to their homes on the morning of Saturday, October 23rd, and help them with that. So we want to do this pairing. So if you're able to help with that, we've got a couple of clipboards with legal pads out there in the entrance of the church. If you just write down your household name, your phone number, and your email address, we will then pair you with a senior or two in our parish who needs that kind of work done on October 23rd. We've got people calling in already asking for that help, so we need you to step forward to provide that help. It'd be a great service to people in our community. We've got lots of blankets left over here. Those have been all done, but we've got probably a dozen here and a couple of dozen over here. If you are able to take home another blanket or two to continue to tie, and then bring them back by November 1st, that would be amazing, because then they're going to go to some of those senior parishioners in our parish, as well as the Children's Hospital at St. Vincent Hospital. So very much needed, and it would be great if you have some time to take a blanket or two home with you. So even Roger's going to take one home, it looks like. Thanks, Roger. All right, there we go. We've got some Halloween activities coming up as well. So in our own parish, in conjunction with Father Alloway's school, we're going to do a trunk or treat. It's decorating the trunk of your car and handing out treats, and that's going to happen also on Saturday, October 23rd. So there's a lot going on that day. That's going to be in the afternoon from 1 to 3 right here at Resurrection. So if you want to get involved with that, we're going to ask you to sign up by October 13th online at our website, and that's in this newsletter as well. There's a spooktacular event going on at Lambeau that the Salvation Army's putting on. They need some help. And then there's a Fall Harvest Fest that Salvation Army's running down at their core on Union Court. They're doing a trunk or treat as well, so they need some help. So lots of opportunities to get involved and to make a difference, and as Mother Teresa reminded us, to do something. Not yesterday, we got tomorrow, but today, what are we going to do? There's lots of opportunities to do things here in this parish and in this community. So make sure you pay attention to the newsletter. Our next Generations of Disciples is going to be November 3rd, and there we're going to talk about the option for the poor and the vulnerable. So lastly, we've given you an action plan sheet on that clipboard. It's a little kind of like a table tent thing you can fold in half. I want to just take, what's our time here? Carolyn, do you know what the time is? It's already 7:30. If you would take that home with you and consider, out of all of those options, all of those ways for your household to get involved, how might that be? And to commit to something in these next few weeks before we come back together. Will you tie some blankets? Will you help the seniors in our parish? Will you take part in the trunk or treat or some of the other things that are going on in the parish? So what commitment will you make as a household or as an individual to help out and do something? All right. And then lastly, I saw this video a number of years ago, and I think it just shows how every person, as we keep talking about tonight, has human dignity, has dignity and worth. And all around the world, right? People of all different nationalities and skin colors and whatever. This video is going to be our closure tonight to just remind us that we are all, young, old, rich, poor, homeless, we're all created in the image and likeness of God. Katie?
It's in every one of us to be It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us. I just remembered. It's like I've been sleeping for years. I'm not awake as I can be, but my seeing's better. I can see through the tears. I've been realizing that I bought this ticket and watching only half of the show. But there is scenery and lights and a cast of thousands who won't know what I know. And it's good that it's so. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us by and by.
Thanks for being here tonight, everybody. We'll see you next time, and continue to make a difference as Res is on mission.